After much hype for the barbed wire deathmatch for the AEW World Championship, as well as the contract signing of a major star, AEW Revolution is finally in the history books. And was it a good show or was it a dud? Let's find out. First off, we had RIHO and Thunder Rosa teaming to take on Britt Baker and Rebel. However, before the show, Britt Baker wrote Rebel a doctor's note which saw her being replaced by the popular MAKI ITOH. This was her debut on US soil for AEW. The Japanese idol came out singing her song on the way to the ring. It was a good match, and ultimately Britt Baker got the pinfall after an interference from Rebel gave her the advantage. And at the start of the main show, we had another tag team match. It was a good back and forth showcasing the teamwork of both teams, and despite interference from the Inner Circle's enforcer Wardlow throughout the match, the Young Bucks retained after pinning Chris Jericho following a Meltzer driver. I sense that this is to set up even more dissension within the Inner Circle ranks, with Chris Jericho potentially being ousted by MJF down the line. This was teased later on in the night with a backstage interview with the stable, with MJF looking less than impressed with his tag team partner and stating that change is needed. Next was the Casino Tag Team Royale to name the Young Bucks' next challenger for their titles. The match was basically a Royal Rumble with a new team entering the match every 90 seconds. It had basically all of the AEW tag teams, and surprisingly there weren't any surprise entrants. It came down to a 2-on-1 situation with the Death Triangle's Pac and Rey Fenix having the advantage over Jungle Boy, who was left on his own after Luchasaurus was eliminated earlier in the match. Jungle Boy managed to throw Pac out of the ring, evening the odds, but after an impressive one-on-one exchange, Fenix was able to come out victorious, crowning himself and Pac the #1 contenders for the tag team titles. Next was the AEW Women's Championship match. It started with a video package which told their backstory from Japan. Shida and Mizunami have fought 3 times before, and every time it ended in a draw. Mizunami said that she was going to retire a couple of years ago, but didn't, so she could finally beat Shida. This set up a cool challenge for Shida to overcome in order to retain her title, and ultimately Shida did come out victorious, finally getting her win over her nemesis. Up next was the third tag team match of the night, this time with MIRO and Kip Sabian taking on Orange Cassidy and Chuck Taylor of the Best Friends. Before they could even get to the ring, MIRO and Kip attacked their opponents backstage, with MIRO driving Taylor's head through the glass window of a door. The heels then dragged Chuck to the ring as the match started as a handicap. After a beatdown on Chuck, Orange Cassidy eventually made his way into the match, getting the hot tag and rocking his opponents. MIRO eventually won the match via submission, making Chuck Taylor give up to a game over. The big money match between Matt Hardy and Hangman Page was next. The match was good overall, with Hardy showing a brutal side to his new Big Money Matt character. He would focus his attack on the hand of Hangman, which would become a key part of the story of the match. Not only this, but Page had to deal with Private Party, who would cause several distractions. However, Hangman kicked out of the Twist of Fate before the Dark Order evened the playing field. A buckshot lariat saw Hangman Page earn the pin and will now receive Matt Hardy's first quarter salary from this year. And if you're enjoying the video so far, why not help me out and drop a like down below, and also subscribe as we try to reach 10,000 subscribers. The Dark Order and Page celebrated together as we seemingly get closer to Page joining the group. One of the most anticipated matches of the night was next, as we saw the face of the Revolution ladder match. Part of the hype was the fact that there was an open 6th slot in the match, so let's find out who it was. Cody, Penta, Lance Archer, Scorpio Sky and Max Caster were joined by Ethan Page. The former Impact Tag Team Champion was one of the many men speculated to be in the match over the past week. The winner was the first person to grab the brass ring that was hung above the ring, with Scorpio Sky eventually being crowned the #1 contender for the AEW TNT Championship. He will now face Darby Allin this Wednesday on Dynamite for the title. And next was the moment everybody has been talking about this week leading up to the pay-per-view. The Mystery Hall of Fame worthy major signing. The segment started with a countdown on the big screen, and then it showed the name Christian Cage. Christian then walked out and signed his contract in the middle of the ring before walking out without saying a word. Now, in my personal opinion, I think it would have been better for him to be a surprise out of nowhere rather than receiving this build. Fans' expectations have been through the roof, including mine, with names such as CM Punk, Brock Lesnar and John Cena on the lips of fans following the way AEW had built the debut up. I don't think fans can be blamed for their expectations being so high with the specific wording that AEW used throughout the week. Honestly, I'm a little bit disappointed with this, but I can't say I'm surprised. The closer we got to the reveal, the less I thought it would actually be CM Punk, who I predicted in my predictions video yesterday. Is he a major signing? No, but he's good nonetheless. Either way, we have an exploding barbed wire deathmatch still to come. But first, the second last match of the night was the cinematic street fight. Sting teamed with Darby Allin against Team Taz's Brian Cage and Ricky Starks. The match was well shot with some good camera work throughout, and it began with a shot of Team Taz waiting for their opponents, whilst Darby was on a skateboard hitching a ride on the back of Sting's truck. It took place in a warehouse, so it wasn't exactly a street fight. Let's call it a warehouse fight. But with that said, Sting and Darby wore matching face paint, with one half of their faces being painted in the trademark Sting design, with the other half being Darby's usual face paint, and this was a nice touch. It eventually became a handicap match after Hook and Will Hobbs came in to help their stable mates. It wasn't enough, however, as the match ended up in a ring with Sting dropping Starks with a Scorpion Deathlock for the 1-2-3. Finally, it's the match everybody has been waiting for, the exploding barbed wire death match for the AEW World Championship. Now, did it live up to expectations? Let's find out. The champion, Kenny Omega, defends against the man he screwed out for the title in December, Jon Moxley. 3 sides of the ropes are covered in barbed wire, which set off explosions on contact. Explosions also surrounded the ring on the floor, and if the timer reaches 30 minutes, everything's going to go bang. This is going to be interesting. The match saw both men go flying into the ropes, setting off explosions. Then with 15 minutes to go, Kenny spears Moxley into the ropes, setting off the explosions once again. This hurt Omega more than Moxley, with Kenny being momentarily blinded. He used water to clear his eyes before the two men made it onto the apron, with Moxley driving Omega through the explosive barbed wire boards on the floor. Dramatic music played as the 10-minute warning began. Moxley was then dropped by a one-winged angel, which nobody has kicked out of before, but Moxley managed to kick the ropes in order to set off an explosion which broke up the fall, which was a very cool spot. The Good Brothers showed up to turn it into a 3-on-1 before Moxley was struck by an exploding barbed wire baseball bat, but Moxley kicked out. The numbers advantage continued as Kenny hit the one-winged angel one more time, but this time through a chair, and this finally put Moxley away as Omega retains his AEW World Championship. A fun match had somewhat of an anticlimactic ending, which seems to be the theme of the night. The Good Brothers and Kenny Omega handcuffed Moxley in the middle of the ring as the countdown continued. Eddie Kingston ran out to save Moxley, trying to get him up and out of the ring, but it was too late. Kingston laid on top of Moxley to protect him from the huge explosions, but then the tiniest of pyros went off around the ring. Man, this was a huge botch and really ruined the ending, and the consensus online seems to agree with me. What would have been an awesome way to write Moxley off of television while he takes a break with his newborn baby, unfortunately it went horribly wrong. What's worse, Kingston had to sell it, and I don't really know what else to say about this one. In terms of the pay-per-view overall, it was good, but there was quite a lot of repetitiveness throughout. 6 of the matches in the card tried to use a numbers advantage in some kind of way, whether it was a successful attempt or not. One of the things AEW has prided themselves on is clean finishes and fair fights, but tonight seemed to go in the complete other direction. Throughout the match there was some good action, and the ending would have been great had the pyro not glitched. It's a shame because the show had so much potential, but I think with the disappointing major signing, as great as Christian is, as well as the botched finish, it won't go down as one of AEW's greatest pay-per-views whatsoever. Either way, let me know what you think of the pay-per-view in the comments down below.